Hello, this is Adam. Welcome to my channel. I am on a quest to be the most prolific reviewer of all time. And to do that, I watch movies, review them, mostly movies, but basically anything that I want. And recently I watched a film called Eternity. And this is a film that stars Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, and Caitlin Turner. And it's basically sort of a fantasy romantic film, comedy as well. I mean, it's not that funny, it's a little bit funny, but it's more like good natured than funny. And it asks this kind of simple yet deep question, which is if you had the choice between choosing, a big fiery romantic love or kind of like the quiet soft love that along like most couples have, that especially the ones that have lasted a long time, decades and decades and decades, which would you choose? So Elizabeth Olsen is playing the character of Joan, and Miles Teller is playing Larry. So Joan and Larry, they have been married for like 65 years, and they're on their way to a gender reveal party. And Larry is saying how stupid the parties are and that parties kill people, and Larry dies at the party because he's like 85 years old or whatever. And so he gets whisked away to the afterlife. And the movie does this thing where the afterlife is really, really confusing, and then the characters start asking questions about the afterlife being confusing, and then the characters in the movie are like, "Oh yeah, yeah, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it," which I can understand why the writing of the movie wants you to kind of focus on other things because the afterlife is not the point of the movie. I mean, it is in a way, but asking questions about it within the movie doesn't really help the plot. So, anyway, Larry discovers that you have one eternity that you get to choose, but you can only choose one, and then you can't change your mind later. So, there's people who try to escape their eternities and then they get thrown into nothingness. So Larry is like, okay, I need to choose the perfect eternity for Joan and me because he's like prepared. He's under the impression that his wife will be with him. So when his wife dies, she is there. And another funny thing about the movie is that you get to choose. So the way that you look to people is when you're happiest. So there's a lot of like 10-year-old boys or whatever, but so Larry was happiest when he was middle aged, and Joan was happier when she was like in her 20s, and so you so anyway, Joan dies, and then it's discovered that Joan had been married before, and he'd been married to this guy named Luke, who was a war hero because he was killed in Korea. So basically, Luke and Joan had been married, and they were about to start their lives. And when Luke went away to fight in Korea and died, and there's a whole like little plot like Korea's not the war, like the it's not like World War I or World War II. It's not a serious war, but yeah, obviously people died and had the same kind of problems recovering, like the family members that other people did. Recovering from the loss of their family members that other people did is what I meant to say. So anyway, you have this love triangle between Luke, Joan, and Larry. And so Luke is the love that never was, and Larry is the love that was. And so that's the question of the movie. And Larry is trying to do a really good job of, he's trying to like convince Joan to pick him. But remember, like, this is for all eternity. So you have to spend all eternity with the same person. So Larry is like the guy who snores or farts or, you know, he's the real person, and Luke is like this imaginary person. So yeah, I won't tell you exactly what happens in the movie because there is a bit of there are things that happen, but that's the basic premise. So you're in heaven and you have to choose the person to be with for the rest of your life, and you can choose any sort of heaven to be with them. So you can, if you want to go on the beach, you can go on the beach. If you want to do this, you can do that, basically. And I thought that it's not like a mind-blowing movie or anything, but it's an interesting movie. It posits interesting questions. So you kind of need to answer them for your own, right, on your own, and decide what's best for you. Like, what would you do in that situation? And I think Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen especially do a great job because Miles Teller is playing this sort of like everyday man, and it works really well with his physique and his character. And Elizabeth Olsen is playing this woman who is at heart a librarian, but she is like, I don't want to say this, like, she's a sexy librarian, right? She is a woman who is seen to be desirable by at least these two people, right? So so she's seen as attractive, but like her attractiveness is not limited to her beauty, if that makes sense, right? Like, she is smart and she has a good heart, right? And she's probably smarter than both of these people. And they kind of idealize her probably for the same reasons. So I think that Elizabeth Olsen does a good job of being that sort of sensitive. She kind of portrays that, like, attractive and sensitive and intelligent all in one. So the movie, like, it's okay. It's all right. Like, there's nothing bad about the movie. I think it's kind of like a movie where you have an idea, you make it, and everything goes right, but it still is not kind of mind blowing. It's like chocolate chip cookie. It's when you make a good chocolate chip cookie, it can be like mind blowing. And you can make a bad chocolate chip cookie, which is basically oatmeal with raisins. It's like a disguised chocolate chip cookie. So this is like probably store bought, good, deluxe quality chocolate chip. Not excellent, but like 7 out of 10, I would say. So it's not remarkable or anything. The acting is not amazing. The script is not amazing, but it's interesting. It's an entertaining movie. Yeah. All right. What did you think? If you've seen the movie Eternity, please put your thoughts in the comment section. Yeah, my goal is to have 250 subscribers in YouTube by the end of January, and I have 271 now. So let's make it a stretch goal and say 300 subscribers by the end of January. So, yeah. All right. And if you're listening on Spotify, please give me a follow. Thank you. Bye bye.